All right, what's going on, everybody? So today's video is just going to be a quick video discussing leverage and how to use it appropriately so that we're not taking on the inherent risk of being exposed to a specific exchange. Obviously, crypto operates around this whole, peer-to-peer sort of, decentralization notion. So we need to make sure that we are taking that into account and not giving everything and putting everything into the hands of one entity, whether that be the market itself, right? You don't want to have to rely on the market to go up or go down via being over leveraged. And then you have to start adding more and more collateral or adding more margin to bring down liquidation prices. You don't want to be exposed to a specific exchange or a specific entity, right? And you don't want to have to rely on these billionaires to come in and bail out other billionaires. So obviously, I know that this is pretty hard to hear for a lot of you because you were deeply affected by FTX, and for that, I'm sorry. I have many friends that were deeply affected. I managed to get out unscathed, but this is obviously more relevant to us today than ever. So the market still exists. It's still here. It's still liquid, as liquid enough for us to come in and want to trade it. So that means that there is still an incentive to deposit into other exchanges and then trade derivatives, right? So if you are looking to do that, then you need to take this into account at least moving forward. But basically, I just want to give a message and say that if you are using leverage, you need to be using it appropriately. And a lot of people don't understand why leverage was even created in the first place. Leverage was initially created as a way to incentivize people to onboard their capital without having to take on the inherent risk of onboarding all of their capital. Right. So, and leverage is a concept that goes back for decades. This is not something that was created specifically for crypto. It's just that crypto has then taken that sort of incentive and tool, and it's started to become utilized for different reasons. Right? Hey, now we can trade with more money than what we're actually worth and be total degens and run up accounts by unbelievable exponential amounts. Right? That is not the appropriate way to use leverage. So um, using leverage is essentially, I'll just give a quick example. If you're worth $100,000, and let's say you want to be trading with all 100,000 of your capital, of your net worth, right? Instead of depositing all 100,000 onto an exchange, let's say Bybit, for example, you don't have to do that. You can instead only deposit 10,000 and then use 10x leverage and then imitate as if you're still trading with your full $100,000, right? And that way you're not taking on the inherent risk of, and I'm not trying to FUD Bybit. I'm literally sponsored by Bybit, and they just put out a tweet saying that they're perfectly one-to-one backed. But obviously this goes just as a general rule of thumb. You don't want your exposure and you don't want your safety and your security to be in the hands of Bybit or any other entity, period. So you utilize leverage to mitigate that sort of risk, and you use 10,000 of your net worth, right, out of your 100,000. So you're only using 10%. But then when you put on 10x leverage, all of a sudden you are imitating trading with your full amount. And as long as you are not being a full fledged fucking degenerate and you need access to your liquid capital, the other 90,000 that could be perfectly fine and sitting in your bank account or under your mattress or in cold storage or whatever the fuck, right? As long as you don't need liquid access to that capital to then deposit to that exchange to add on, collateral because you're a degenerate and you're at risk of getting liquidated or whatever, then you should be fine. You should be able to fully operate with that $10,000, right? And let's say, hey, you want to go buy spot? Okay, cool. Deposit $30,000 of spot, buy whatever you need to buy, and then move it to a cold storage or move it to a hot wallet or, MetaMask or whatever, right? That's the proper way to go about this. So it's becoming more and more apparent to me. I talked with a good friend of mine who's a mega, mega, mega whale and has been in the space for a very, very long time, and he asked me, has the recent events as of the past year changed the way that you view bear markets? And my exact response was, actually, it absolutely has, because it's shown me that risk management and the term bear market refers to more than just price action. It refers to just being affiliated with the space in general. Right, some of your favorite people, your favorite influencers have given up. Some of your exchanges that you use have been proven to be insolvent. Some of the people that you have looked up to have proven to be scammy and scum of the earth. Right, some of the stable coins that you've been invested in have gone to zero. Right, that's what it means to be in a bear market, and that needs to be the understanding moving forward. And it's becoming more and more apparent to me with each and every single passing moment. So, and therefore, risk management and what it means to be a well managed sort of trader or a well managed sort of market participant that accounts for risk has now totally been redefined, right? And that should have always been the case. And based off of this notion is how I've been able to really be pretty much unaffected by the whole craziness that is FTX. But it's just becoming more relevant to us today, right? Because something like Celsius even might not have been that eye opener, because let's be honest, how many of your friends had money on Celsius, right? I maybe know two or three people that had money on Celsius and were heavily affected by that sort of thing. But when it's something like FTX, now that's dragging down a big portion of the market, right? FTX is a big player. So all of a sudden, we start to become affected, or people that we know and love and cherish, right, as friends, start to become affected. Your favorite influencers have started to become infected. So it's more relevant today. So let other people's mistakes guide you into not making those mistakes yourself, right? And then the second portion of this video is a very quick, hey, here's how to manage risk per, just simply as a trade to trade sort of basis, right? It's very simple. So all we're going to do is we're going to talk about how do you manage risk on a specific trade. And all that means is you take this very simple equation, and all it is where's my text box? All right, hold on. I'll pause and I'll come back. All right, so here we go. So the very simple equation to determine your risk management, how you're going to manage your risk for every single individual trade. Right now, we're getting more basic. We're not talking about risk management as a whole, being a participant. We're just talking about how are you managing your risk on a specific trade, and you're going to see how most of the time leverage is pretty useless. You shouldn't really always need to use leverage. But let's just give an example really quick, right? So let's say you have a $10,000 account, right? So $10,000 account. Let's just go ahead and write that out. And out of that $10,000, you use a very generic sort of general rule, and you risk 1% of your account per trade. So that would mean that your risk amount is $100, right? So your risk amount, $100, your total account, $10,000, you risk 1%, $100 risk amount. And now you want to divide that per or whatever your stop loss is for that specific trade that you're going to be taking. So we'll do $100 divided by 0.02. So all, or whoops, 0.02. Right. All you do is turn that stop loss amount, that 2%, into a decimal. It's very easy. You just move over the decimal point, 2. And then you have your stop loss amount. And then once you do that equation, $100 divided by 0.02, that's going to give you a number. And as long as I'm not a complete fucking idiot, that number is $5,000. Right. So $5,000 is the position size that you should be going into for this specific trade setup that I'm showing you here, right? If you have 2 grand deposited onto that exchange, meaning you're risking 20% of your overall account onto that centralized exchange specifically, you need about 2.5, so we'll just call it 3x leverage in order to fully fill into this trade for your proper position size whilst still managing your risk via your risk amount, right? So now you're using leverage appropriately. You're allocating a specific amount to that exchange, and then per that, every single setup that you take, you're going to start to work out with this very simple equation, and then you're going to determine how much leverage do I need to size appropriately, right? And then assuming that your stop loss is something much larger, right? Let's say 10%, then you don't need leverage. If you have $2,000 deposited and your stop loss is 10% and you have 2 grand deposited onto that exchange, well, in order to risk $100 on that specific trade, you would only need $1,000 position size, right? So you wouldn't need leverage at all. So that's the proper way to use leverage. And I would hope that this video just gives everybody a nice little rundown. Somebody on Twitter asked me about what is leverage exactly and how should we be managing risk per trade setup. So this video is a nice little combination in between both of those. And like I said, guys, I know that this is probably might come off as insensitive because I'm sitting here and trying to give, oh, here's how to manage your risk, guys, right? During the midst of all this fucking chaos and whatnot. But there is still opportunity here in the market. Obviously, I know that you guys are fucking degenerates, just like myself, and you're still going to be trading. And that's just the reality of the situation. So if you're going to continue trading, do so appropriately. Don't be a fucking degenerate. Don't ever risk more than what you need to risk, and use leverage appropriately. Be methodical in your sort of approach, and also use my Bybit referral link. Right. So that it's a bear market, guys. Bitcoin is currently trading at 17K. So I need you guys to use my Bybit referral link. But no, in all seriousness, that does really help me out a lot. It is the greatest way to support me, just using that Bybit referral link. And also at the moment, they have a pretty sweet deposit campaign going on where, depending on how much you deposit, the maximum you could possibly get as a deposit incentive is $30,000 as a bonus. So I'm going to leave the details to that in the description below, and obviously a link, because I like to show my ref link. Uh, um, Contrary to popular belief, I'm not that much of a scammy piece of shit. I've been using Bybit since 2019, so I have no problem shilling them. And also, like I said, Ben Bybit just tweeted out yesterday that there's no problem with customer funds. They're backed 1-to-1. So that's obviously enlightening a little bit. It makes me feel better about shilling. But obviously, I myself apply this same exact understanding because I understand that there's inherent risk as being involved with crypto just at the very basic level. And that goes for centralized exchanges, that goes for stable coins, that goes for everything. Your safety is not safety, right? Safety in this space is an absolute fallacy. It's too lucrative, it's too innovative, it's too new, it's too infant, right? It's just the reality of the situation. So obviously do your due diligence. But if you are interested in continuing to trade, then or supporting me, then signing up to my Bybit referral link is definitely the best way to go about doing that. So much love. I hope this video found a lot of you well. I hope it's not insensitive. I'm just trying to help where I can and make sure that everybody's all good. Um, Much love, everybody. I hope you're doing okay, and take it easy. Peace.